So today I'm diagnosing on this 2020 Can-Am Defender Pro a noise in high range. I just drove it and it sounds like it might be something with the front drive shaft, maybe something rubbing. I'm gonna try to replicate the noise so you guys can hear it. Maybe it sounds like something you're experiencing. Make sure to like and subscribe. So when this noise first started happening, it was only in high range, and I think something's probably gotten warm and is rubbing, and now it does it even at only a few miles an hour. So hopefully I'll go back and put it on the rack and find a hot spot or something that looks a little rubbed, and then I can either bend something out of the way, or maybe something, a joint is damaged, or a U-joint, something, bearing, who knows. I now have the Can-Am up in the air, looking around for noises. I'm rotating the front left wheel. Now let me see if I can get it to do it. I'm getting a little bit of creaking noise from the front left wheel bearing area. So I'm gonna look around a little more, but I'm probably gonna take this apart and really check that bearing. It doesn't feel loose like you'd typically check shaking at 12 and 6, but there's a noise, so maybe just starting to fail. I have taken the front knuckle apart to inspect the wheel bearing. I looked at both sides. Feels pretty good, so I don't think that's where my noise is coming from. So I'm gonna pull the skid plate off and see if I can find a drive shaft support bearing. So I've managed to take the skid plate off. There's rivets that actually hold these all on. I used a 3/16 drill bit and got most of them out. Some of these I'm gonna have to clean up. But a ton of dirt fell out, and I can see there's a carrier bearing up in here that's covered in dirt. So I'm gonna clean all that out of there so I can inspect the bearing back there. So I'm gonna show you how I've been drilling these rivets out. It's pretty easy. If you get a 3/16 drill bit, and then you kind of rock the bit as you drill. So I've removed the two center skid plates, and now I can see this carrier bearing. I've been able to kind of duplicate its noise. I'm going to try to make it now. I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like more similar to the noise I was hearing. My customer also told me that it only happens in four-wheel drive at higher speeds. So I'm going to go ahead and plan on getting this carrier bearing, and we'll go from there. Here's my new carrier bearing. It took me about a week to get, so the customer took it back in between. The skid plates are still off. I'm gonna try to take this apart. It looks like the drive shaft is splined here. So I'm gonna take these two bolts out that are the drive shaft bearing support bolts and see if I can just drop everything down towards the ground, slip off that spline. And it looks like there's a snap ring. I don't know if you can see it in there, that I'll have to take off, and hopefully the bearing just slides right off. These are the two drive shaft support bearing bolts I took out. They come in from the top. It's a little bit difficult. They were pretty stuck in there, but I have this ratchet with a offset handle and a flex head, and I was able to reach up, like get on there. It's a 15 millimeter. And undo it. They're a little tough, but it's manageable. The offset ratchet and the flex head are essential for this. Okay, here I am with the drive shaft out. I was able to, this kind of wiggles a bit on here. I was able to, and it moves on these splines that are in the back that go on the transmission output. I was able to wiggle it around these two tabs that it bolts to and get this out of here. And when it dropped out, the splines came apart like I suspected they would. And now I think I can just take that snap ring out, and I should be able to replace the bearing. The bearing feels a little loose. We'll look at it more when I get it off. Drive shaft support bearing came off easily once I got this snap ring off. 45-degree snap ring pliers, external snap ring. Turning this bearing's frozen. So this seems very likely was a problem. Looking at the drive shaft, there's a little bit of wear maybe on the shaft from it spinning inside that bearing. I'm gonna scuff that up with some Scotch-Brite and just not worry too much about it. With the fresh bearing, it's gonna be fine. I did want to note on the new and old bearing, I don't know if it matters, but one side of the bearing has a painted like dust shield deal and the other is like galvanized or something. The galvanized side goes towards the transmission, so towards the rear. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back together and check in a bit. New drive shaft support bearing is on, turns much better. I'm gonna spline this drive shaft back together and get this all shoved back in here. The one thing I wanted to note that you should pay attention to if you have one of those two-piece drive shafts is that these U-joint yokes need to be lined up when you respline this shaft. So I have the rear one horizontal, this front one. This is the section we want horizontal with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and spline this all back together and get it bolted in. Okay, new drive shaft support bearing is in. These bolts, when I took them apart, had yellow Loctite on them. They were difficult to get out. There's not a lot of access here. I put anti-seize on them going back in. That's my call. Do whatever you're comfortable with. I torqued them. I don't think they're gonna come loose. Just note again, this U-joint yoke and the one in the back are both horizontal at this time, lined up. So you shouldn't have, with the drive shaft that doesn't have much angle like this, it probably wouldn't matter too much, but it's a good practice to line those up. So now I'm gonna clean up all these rivets that are in here and put the skid plates back on, and we'll do a test drive. Okay, we're all riveted back on, and as I'm recording this, I'm noticing I missed one, so I'll get that one. But what I want to show you is, this is the rivet I got. I got a pack of them off Amazon, 3/16 rivet. You get a bunch of them for like 10 or 15 bucks. So easy enough to put back in. It seems like kind of a pain at first, but once you get going, it doesn't take too long. Okay, I'm here with my co-pilot Yuki. She gets very excited for side-by-side rides. I've road tested this about halfway down our property, and I'm back to where I originally experienced the noise, and I was testing before, so I'm gonna speed up a little bit and try to experience it, but I haven't heard it yet, and I think the problem has resolved. Yep, so we don't hear anything. I think this was a good fix. Wasn't too bad to do. If you like this content, please give me a like or subscribe or comment anything you'd like to see different. Thank you.